Hi, good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. I am very excited to introduce a colleague and a dear friend, Miss Lindsay Eastburn. She is a pioneer in the area of hypnosis and specifically hypnosis for fertility. And as you know, I'm all about looking for other ways to improve ourselves and get to where we need to get. So we will be focusing on the applications that Lindsay has found in her niche with, particularly with fertility. I had the honor of meeting Lindsay, wow, probably like a year and a half ago, and not only meet her on a professional level, but also enjoy her as a therapist. And I can attest that what she does is pretty powerful. And I always like to learn not only for myself, but if something works for me, I always share it with you guys. So I'm just going to go over a few basic questions, and then if you guys have any particular questions for her or me, please join in. So Lindsay, what is hypnosis?
What is hypnosis? Well, that's a pretty good question to start off with, and a pretty I can give you lots and lots and lots of answers to that. For the purposes of what we work with, it's therapeutic hypnosis. It is accessing the subconscious mind to help to create change. To put it really about as simply as I can, it is similar to meditation in terms of, well, I mean, people can experience it that way in terms of getting into a quiet part of their mind or being able to be, tuned inward. But at the same time, it's different because we access that state with the purpose of doing some work there.
Okay. And how did you get involved with this mode of therapies and specifically fertility?
So I've been in the healing arts for a long time, and quite a few years ago, I was practicing Reiki and I was training people, and I thought hypnosis might be a nice little complement to that. And I decided to get trained, and in the first hour of my training, I just knew it. This is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's a lot of synchronicities, definitely, that happened to get me into the fertility world. And part of that was, it was the Reiki. It was ending up, and I was in Georgia, where you are. That's where I was when all this sort of kicked off, and I ended up being guided to go to Chicago, which is where I did my training. I went to a conference, a hypnosis conference, and met my husband, who lived here in Denver. And as it turned out, well, we ended up deciding to get together. Neither one of us was looking for anything like that. I moved out to Denver. And right about that time, there was just so much going on with IVF, and some of the biggest clinics were here in this area. And yeah, it just unfolded that way. I set up a general hypnosis practice, and people started to come in just kind of asking, could I help with fertility? And as I did so, it was just amazing. So women who are given a 0% chance of ever getting pregnant were getting pregnant naturally, working with me with the hypnosis. So I knew that hypnosis was so effective for childbirth, and I was trained in hypnobirth. And it made sense to me that there really wasn't much going on with it. I mean, hypnotists could work with fertility. They should be able to work with whatever it is that someone needs help with. But there was really nothing out there. There were no programs. There was really no information, nothing in books, nothing on the internet for whatever the internet was back in, 99, 2000. But that's really what kind of opened the door for me. It was like the universe brought this to me, and then it was a matter of me saying yes. And I've always, 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 always wanted women who want to have babies to have babies. It's just been something that's been in my heart forever, since I swear, since I was born. And so as this came to me, I said yes.
So would you say that, there is a segment of women that have some blocks that they might not be even aware of at the subconscious level that they need to clear in order to be able to conceive, right? Because that's kind of where we're heading with this. So the way I understand how hypnotherapy works is kind of try to bypass the conscious, and with this particular technique to get into the subconscious, which is 95% of our programming. And it is, so if you imagine, if it's like that's 95% of our programming, you can imagine how it runs the body, runs the system. So it's kind of trying to go bypass that. Would you say that, you know, we could use hypnosis even to like do healing, like physical healing, people that have, for example, blocked tubes? Do you think that by programming the subconscious, we could help naturally unblock the tubes, for example?
For sure. One of the interesting things is, well, the subconscious mind is very protective of us and it also responds to emotion. If the more stressed out we get, the more the subconscious mind will respond, oftentimes in ways that aren't so great for us. So, unexplained infertility, as you know, is a huge issue for women. And that's one of the things that immediately said to me, wow, hypnosis, because we can help release emotional blocks, subconscious blocks, whether or not we know what they are, whether or not we know that they're there. So, something like blocked tubes, the body will manifest what we sometimes, something that we're so stressed out about or emotionally dealing with, it can manifest in something that is a physiological condition. So it's not to say that everything physically that we could have going on is something that we can just, immediately clear. But at the same time, yes, there is a lot that we can work with for sure. Yeah.
That is, I think it's fascinating. So could you share with us some of your more challenging cases, so people that are watching this video now or will be watching it in the future have a better grasp of, how much can be, they can be helped with this technique?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I work with everything across the board. I have worked with people who have been 9 years, 10 years, 15 years trying to conceive and never able to get pregnant. Work with people who've had multiple miscarriages. It's just so interesting how all of this can come together. When we're pregnant, it's what, 25% of pregnancies end up with a miscarriage, something like that. And women, we worry about that, of course. We just have that in the back of the mind. That's why people are not wanting to tell people maybe for 12 weeks. Well, once something like that happens, it actually creates, it really impacts the subconscious mind. It really impacts us emotionally. It causes fear. And then that will actually start to reinforce all of the things that could possibly unfold because of that, if that makes any sense. And so sometimes somebody's had a miscarriage and then there's so much fear around it, so much stress, and they end up having another miscarriage. We don't necessarily know why. The doctors may not know exactly why, but the more that happens, the more it's compounded. And so when they come to work with me or to work with hypnosis, I'm able to set a new foundation, basically bypass all that has happened with that, address it, release the charge around it. I mean, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen, but release the charge around it, and then help them to get pregnant and stay pregnant from a much healthier, more balanced space. So, I have helped women sometimes when you're pregnant with multiples, of course, to keep those babies in, and hypnosis can actually help keeping the babies in. So recently I had a client who was actually, she was admitted into the hospital at, I believe, 20 weeks, 22 weeks,
Wow.
because, and she was with twins, and they weren't sure exactly what was going on with them, but there was some danger to both the babies and the mom. And so part of the work that I did with her was keeping the babies in as long as we could. And healthy mom, healthy baby, dealing with the stress. You can imagine the stress that went along
Right,
with
of
that.
course. Mhm.
Yeah. And so I was able to help her keep those babies in beyond what they were hoping, 28, let's get to 28 weeks. And okay, well, maybe we'll get to
Let's get it
30.
to 30.
Let's get to 32. And we did get beyond 32, which is just fantastic. And the little ones were born. They're both healthy, in the NICU for a little while, but,
That's
just
fantastic.
thriving, doing really well. And that's just one example. She was my client, actually, fertility wise, and helping her to get pregnant and going through all of, I don't remember exactly all the details, but it can start preconception and continue through pregnancy and on through birth as well. Another example I had was an RE sent me a gal because she was just so sensitive to pain. She couldn't even have a blood draw. And
Wow.
the kind of I
Yes,
hate
I
the
mean
word
the
pain, but
fertility
that goes
journey,
along
you
with
gotta be okay with needles because you
right, right.
have to embrace them.
Yeah. So she's afraid of that, hypersensitive to pain, totally stressed. They couldn't do anything with her till they could get beyond this. So I was able to work with her immediately. In one session, she was able to get rolling with the IVF process. She was able to have her blood work. She was able to get going. Um, they I don't remember exactly what the details were again. There's a lot that are in my mind, but we ended up being able to help her to get, I believe it was, I don't know, maybe 3 eggs, 1 fertilized, genetically sound, implanted,
Wow.
pregnant baby. She wanted 1 baby, and that's what we got. We got one. We ended up with 1 embryo, 1 baby. She's happy. Everything worked out beautifully. Was able to use all of the hypnosis and the techniques to get pregnant through the pregnancy, dealing with any stress that came up, and also for birth to have a lovely birth experience.
So for those watching, imagine of hypnosis like traditional therapy on speed and a lot deeper. So then we're not only going to the subconscious and reprogramming maybe ideas that go back to childhood that you're not even aware of, but also
Right.
releasing some of the trauma associated with the fertility process so you can go, you know, beyond that step and further. So we're dealing with, mom issues. We're dealing with self-esteem issue. We're dealing with uh, deep-rooted women issues. Then you're dealing with um, the ability or the thought process of becoming a mom. And then all of that will play into the process of not only getting pregnant, but like Lindsay was saying, staying pregnant and beyond. And I know that in other discussions we've discussed about, hypnosis for the process of birth, about hypnosis for the process of being a new mom and dealing with a new baby and breastfeeding and all of that. I always say that as much as I love being a girl, it can be pretty tough to be one. So you go
Yeah,
through a lot of uh, a lot of adventures as a
for
girl
sure. For
that
sure.
can only be understood by another girl going through them. But so I want to touch on 2 other issues first. I know that you have some really amazing books out there about the Starlight babies and how not only Lindsay will deal with hypnotherapists on a traditional way, but she is blessed to have other gifts and she has expressed that through her books. Could you go over it? I know that you just wrote one and there might be something else in the works. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, it seems like there's always something else in the works, especially, for me when it comes to writing. A few years ago, so I started working with fertility. It was back around 99, 2000, right at that time. And a few years in, like I said, there really wasn't anything going on with it. And all of a sudden, I had a specialty. And so I decided, wow, I need to maybe teach some other people how to work with this. And soon after that, I realized I had the material for a book, and I needed to write the book because I needed people to understand that hypnosis was an option. So people doing, trying to get pregnant, whether it's medically assisted or otherwise, is typically are aware of acupuncture and nutrition and maybe yoga. and they weren't aware of hypnosis. And so I wanted to make the public aware, make people aware that this was a viable option for them. And so that was It's Conceivable. That was the first book that I wrote. A lot of doctors, well, a lot of everybody will tell people trying to get pregnant to meditate. I love meditation. I do meditate. But one of the issues with it is if you're stressed and you just have so much going on and you're told to meditate and maybe you don't understand it, or there's so many types of it, you can't keep your mind still. It's frustrating. It is so frustrating. With hypnosis, you don't have to keep your mind quiet. We can actually work with that. It can help in learning to meditate if that's something that someone wants to do. But basically, so again, with It's Conceivable, Hypnosis for Fertility, I wanted people to know that that was an option. A few years after that, more and more the spiritual aspect you alluded to, I believe in spirit babies. I mean, that's part of the reason that this came to me was women, when they were originally coming into my office, they were saying, the doctor said I can't have a baby. The doctor said I need to be childless or get used to that idea or adopt. But I feel like there's a baby there. I feel like there's a baby there. And I always said, I believe you. I do. I believe you. And that proved to be true. More and more and more, these women who felt like there was a baby there, despite what they might have been getting, or even with assisting with medical technology or work that they were using, these babies were coming in that they knew, that they really felt that they knew. So part of what I was doing was supporting that as well. Be the spirit babies, literal spirit babies, be they an intuitive hit, whatever they are, whatever this energy is, they are definitely real. And women are tuned in and they know. So that was the second book, was more about divine feminine and tuning into ourselves as women. Not just I'm a girl, not just I'm a woman, not just I'm a female, but what we bring through and our inherent abilities and our souls and our hearts. And so that's what really came through in the second book, which was called, or is called, The Three Keys to Conception, Pregnancy Against All Odds, and actually was inspired by my guide, one of my guides from back in even pre-Reiki days, who shared with me these three keys to conception and really to life itself: meditate, listen, and trust. And when we say meditate, it's not necessarily, sitting on the cushion, with the eyes closed, but really being able to get into the silence, to breathe, to utilize hypnosis, the quiet, the silence, all those types of things. And then to listen, because when we're quiet or when we just stop, even when we're vacuuming, we might actually have a chance that our mind can communicate, our spirit can communicate with us. And if we listen, then we can start to hear that. We can start to know where it is that we need to go or want to go or what fits for us, and then trusting that. But one of the things that kind of taps into this too is fear. So I always say that fear masquerades as intuition. So when we're trying to be intuitive, should I do IUI? Should I do IVF? Should I go to this clinic? Do I want to go to that doctor? Should I try longer? Whatever that is, fear gets in there and screams at you, yes, do it. You've got to do it. Come on now, right away. And then you're trying to make these decisions, but you think, I'm intuiting that I need to really push this right now. I'm intuiting that I need to get a second mortgage on the house, when that's not necessarily it at all. That is fear, which is just pushing you because, the time constraints and everything else, the stress, the emotion that might be going on. So the three keys to conception, and really that is the three keys to life. Be tuned in, meditate, be quiet, take a little time, turn off the TV, listen, tune in, and then trust. And once we do that, and I see a lot of shifting with clients, sometimes it's even career-wise, that has been part of their fertility journey. So this is where the Three Keys to Conception book came in, and talked about the goddess and divine feminine and metaphor and how it impacts the subconscious mind, symbolism, that kind of thing. I was very pleased with that book. I thought, okay, this is great. This gets everything out there. I love this. No, no, no. I had to write another book. This time was more and more spirit baby, shall I say, inspired. Um, I was seeing the babies more and more as I was working with clients. I always did kind of tune in and feel a sense of that. And then I got so I could actually perceive an energy. I don't see little people, it's an energy, but I can tune in, I can, or they can appear, if you will, to me, communicate with me. I'm able to, with hypnosis and just kind of that subconscious communication, it helps to guide me to how I'm working with my clients. Now, as you might know, there's a lot of issues going on in the world. I don't like to sort of be down on patriarchy, but looking at it from an out of balance masculine energy, there's a lot of volatility, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of control, there's a lot, oh my gosh, you know what I mean. And that has to change. That is something that has to change. And these babies, there are us people. We're here. We care about this. We feel it in our hearts. It matters to us. Intuitives and empaths and light workers and healers, or however you want to describe, we know this has to change. This has to change. We're killing the earth.
Yeah.
We're depleting our resources. And so this is part of, shall we say, the mission of the babies who I perceive them to be the ones that appear to me or that I've been working with, call themselves the Pink Starlights. And so the most recent book, Waiting in the Wings, introducing the Pink Starlights, was a book that I know it sounds a bit silly, but that they wanted me to write. I need to get across to people, it's not just about, it's not just biological. It's not just about having a baby. There's just a bigger picture that's going on. So 3 books at this point, and there's just so much more that's going on.
I think that's very exciting. Talk about the universe. The way I came across Lindsay was, as you know, I work mostly at CNY Fertility, and I was at Dr. Keel's office one day, and I think it was the 3 keys to conception. It was just laying there, and I started reading the book, and there were a few testimonials or stories that really kind of impacted me. And it was because it was about not only fertility, but it was about that divine female and how to accept who you are and find your mission and heal yourself so you can heal your environment, your world. And then that's how I reach out to her, and I am very honored to have worked with her, like I said, in more than one level, and have read her third book, which is super fascinating. So, Lindsay, just to kind of close up, how can people get in touch with you? How can any woman out there that's looking at us right now or later will be able to reach out and benefit from this blessing?
Well, definitely through the books, which are all available on Amazon. And those help me to reach a lot of people so that people can read, can learn, can understand, and can move forward, from there. If you want to get in touch with me personally, you can go to my website, which is hypnofertility.com. And, I do work with people. I work with mostly women, but I do work with men in private sessions, one-on-one. Also, I am implementing some groups that are up and coming. And then I also, as Dr. Verdialis mentioned earlier, am and have trained some people. So I am training and have trained some amazing people to also help me to work with this because I work globally. I've been online for years and years, and this is just so important, and hypnosis is just really so helpful that I want to make it even more available, as much as I possibly can.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us tonight. Again, if anybody's interested in learning more about what Lindsay's talking. She has those three amazing books out there. You can get them on Amazon. I have the pleasure of reading the three of them. They're fantastic. It really opens your mind. It opened my mind to the point that I called her up, about a year ago, say, I want to be your client. I want to experience what this can do for me as a woman. And just seeing the effects in my own life, I've referred many people to her as clients, as patients, and I'm putting it out there because I know there'll be somebody out there listening now or later that will really benefit from this mode of healing. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Lindsay. And I will see you soon, guys. Love you always.
Thank you so much.